Before we begin, be sure to subscribe to the channel and click on the bell sign. Don't forget to like this video and post a comment too, since this will be of great help in the development of the channel. A beautiful girl, called Michelle Mary Summers, was born in 1957 in Concord, California. And back in school, she was an active teenager, getting exceptionally excellent grades, playing the violin, performing in school theater productions, was a cheerleader. And in high school, she became a homecoming queen, one of the most honorary titles assigned to school graduates. The girl was also an active member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Hereinafter we will refer to it as LDS Church. After graduation, Michelle went on an exchange trip to Switzerland, worked as a model, and in 1976 she received the title of Miss Concord in her hometown. Michelle soon met Martin MacNeill, who was a year older than her. The two met at a youth event hosted by the LDS Church. Prior to their acquaintance in 1973, at the age of 17, Martin entered the military service. He was dismissed 2 years later in 1975, due to mental health problems. As a result, Martin was receiving veterans' pension for many years. Michelle and Martin were so happy together that they didn't need anyone else in the whole world. That's why the young couple decided to elope, and on the 21st of February 1978, they got married. The happiness didn't last long. Just 4 months later, Martin went to prison for a period of 6 months on charges of forgery, theft and fraud. In 2007, the MacNeill family lived in a gated community in Utah. All family members remained active within the LDS Church, and Michelle and Martin became the parents of 8 children. Their names were Rachel, Vanessa, Vlexis, Damien, Giselle, Elle, Sabrina, and Ada. The last 4 girls, Giselle, Elle, Sabrina and Ada, were allegedly adopted in Ukraine. Although today it is known for certain that Ada was actually the daughter of Vanessa MacNeill, and was actually the granddaughter of Michelle and Martin. To this day it is unknown as to why they made this move. It's obvious that the child wasn't planned, and Michelle and Martin decided to hide the fact of their eldest daughter's pregnancy. So if you have any theories about that, be sure to share in the comments. Martin worked as a bishop in the local LDS Church, and he also worked as a medical director at a local development center. Previously he had his own medical practice, and he served in the military, as well as received a law degree, although he never practiced law after that. Later it will become known that Martin falsified lists for enrollment in the California Medical College, where he learned to be an osteopath. He carried out similar machinations in law school too. And despite the fact that Martin was married to an insanely beautiful girl, which is why many men envied him, he himself often told others that he wasn't happy with his own marriage. According to the couple's eldest daughter Rachel MacNeill, Michelle repeatedly threatened Martin to commit suicide. In 1994, Martin was accused of having sexual relations with a patient of a medical center of Brigham Young University. Because of this he threatened to commit suicide. According to police reports, Martin MacNeill threatened to kill himself and his wife with a butcher's knife in August of 2000, after Michelle caught him watching pornography. In 2005, he again threatened to commit suicide, and again because his wife saw him watching porn. In February of 2007, Michelle repeatedly quarreled with Martin because of suspicions that her husband was having an affair. And she was right. In the period from 2005 to 2007, Martin had at least 2 mistresses: Anna Walthall and Gypsy Willis. Relationship between the couple deteriorated, and in March of 2007, Martin suggested to his wife undergo plastic surgery. His reasoning was that she will become more beautiful, and old feelings will ignite again, and everything will become as before. At first, Michelle suggested to postpone the operation due to the state of her health. She wanted to make sure that her blood pressure was normal, as well as lose some extra weight. But Martin continued to insist. Because of that, Michelle agreed to a facelift in order to save the marriage. Reportedly, at the last consultation before the actual surgery, Martin, who at that time was a doctor himself, gave a self-written list of drugs to the plastic surgeon. He was demanding that the surgeon prescribe these drugs to his wife. The list included the following drugs: Vicodin, Zolpidem, Valium, Oxycodone, Promethazine, Cephalexin. For the most part, these were standard drugs prescribed in case of a surgery. Antibiotics, antihistamines, and painkillers. However, Dr. Scott Thompson, who performed the surgery, never gave his patients Valium or Oxycodone. These are powerful drugs, and have the strongest analgesic properties, as well as sedative and hypnotic effect. Their overdose can be fatal. The surgery was successfully performed on 3rd of April. Michelle spent the night in the hospital and was discharged the next day. The next morning, Alexis found her mother in a coma. Alexis was studying at the medical college at the time. She rushed to her father, to which he said that he probably overdrugged his wife a little. Michelle survived and is on the mend. But this time around, Alexis took control of her medication intake while she was at her parents' house for the weekend. According to Alexis, her mother was afraid that her husband was giving her drugs that she didn't need. But the woman dreamed of reviving their old relationship, and fulfilled all the conditions that were set by her husband for the surgery, completely trusting Martin. On April 6 of 2007, she told Alexis, "In case if something happens to me, rest assured that your father is not the one at fault." But later on the same day, Michelle quarreled with Martin because of his endless calls and messages to his mistress Gypsy Willis. So a couple of days later, on April 10th, Alexis was confident that her mother was on the mend, and returned to college. Her father also insisted, saying that everything is fine, and that she shouldn't miss school. The next morning at 8:44 a.m., mother and daughter talked on the phone. Michelle reported feeling much better. But less than half an hour later, at 9:10 a.m., Alexis got a call from her father, asking to call her mother back. He said he was concerned about Michelle's condition. She wasn't getting better and couldn't get out of bed. According to Martin, he was at work all morning, but no one saw him there until 11 o'clock. At 11:35, Martin picked up his youngest daughter Ada from school. 10 minutes later, at 11:46, they both returned home. Ada saw that her mother was not showing signs of life, and her head was immersed in the bath. Immediately Martin called his son, and ordered him to get rid of all the drugs that his mother was taking. He reasoned that he didn't want outsiders to find out about the plastic surgery, so as not to harm Michelle's reputation. Michelle was later declared dead at only 50 years old. The autopsy was done, and it indicated that the cause of death was a heart attack. Police and forensic scientist reports all confirmed that Michelle's death was in fact accidental, and due to natural causes. However, the MacNeill children questioned the official cause of death, and demanded an investigation and a revision of the toxicology report. Moreover, in September of 2007, Michelle's sister Linda Clave also wrote a letter to the governor of Utah and the district attorney, demanding an investigation into her sister's death. Dr. Todd Gray, chief medical examiner, performed a second exam. He found that the toxicity levels of the drugs found in Michelle's body did not exceed acceptable limits. However, the combination of promethazine, zolpidem, Valium and oxycodone could cause sedation effect and arrhythmia, which led to cardiac arrest. Thanks to Gray's report, on October 6 of 2010, Michelle's cause of death was changed. It went from undetermined to a combination of heart disease and drug side effects. It was also noted that Michelle was unable to take medications on her own. Michelle's funeral took place on 14th of April 2007. At the funeral, her husband Martin kept telling everyone how unfair his wife was to him, instead of actually mourning. In 2009, Martin was sentenced to 4 years in prison on charges of identity theft. He used personal information of his adopted daughter Giselle to obtain new documents for one of his mistresses, Gypsy Willis. He claimed that his actions were motivated by trying to do tax evasion, since at the time Willis owed large sums to the U.S. Internal Revenue Service. And Martin wanted to avoid any liability on this point. He was released from prison in July of 2012. Right after that, the law enforcement declared him a person of interest in the murder of his wife. In 2011, Gypsy Willis was given a 3-year suspended sentence for her involvement in identity theft schemes. Later, on 24 August 2012, the Utah District Attorney's Office charged Martin with the murder of his wife. Martin's trial began on October 17 of 2013. Martin MacNeill pleaded not guilty, and claimed that his wife's death was accidental. Forensic experts also did not confirm that a murder had taken place. However, prosecutors convinced the jury that Martin MacNeill was indeed involved in the murder of his wife, by administering her dangerous drugs, and causing her to drown.
Martin MacNeill murdered his wife Michelle.
Interestingly enough, his arrest warrant stated that Martin had previously attempted to kill his own mother. And that he killed his brother, whose body was found in the bathroom. However, he was never convicted for his murder. During the trial, the prosecutors filed a motion to ban videotaping of it. But the 4th District Court for the state of Utah, while upholding the state rules that went into effect on April 1, came to a decision that the trial could be broadcast live, which happened for the first time ever in Utah history. The broadcast did not include in the video testimonies of federal prisoners, who were fearing retribution. The trial lasted 22 days, and the prosecutor even called this case an almost perfect crime. MacNeill drugged his wife, the traces of which are difficult to detect after the death of a person. And Martin knew about it. The court heard the testimony of one of Martin's mistresses as well. According to her, he said more than once that he was going to kill a person so that death looked like a heart attack. Martin's cellmates also claimed that he boasted plenty about killing his wife, but they could not prove this. Lawyers of Martin MacNeill claimed that Michelle overdrugged herself on her own, and then accidentally fell into the bathtub and drowned. The jurors deliberated for 11 hours. And on the 9th of November, 2013, Martin MacNeill was convicted of murder in the first degree, which took place on April 11, 2007. He was also found guilty of a crime against justice for trying to make his wife's murder look like an accident. In Utah, a murder of first degree is punishable by 15 years to life. And also 15 years for a crime against justice. On December 6, 2013, Martin attempted suicide while in prison. In addition, Martin was found guilty of raping his daughter Alexis, for which he was facing another sentence of up to 15 years. On September 19, 2014, MacNeill was sentenced to 15 years to life for murder in the first degree. And another 15 years for obstruction of justice. And additionally to the existing sentence, given the rape allegations of his daughter, Martin could not appeal for parole for 17 years, meaning until the 19th of September, 2031. 2.5 years after his imprisonment, on April 9, 2017, 60-year-old Martin MacNeill committed suicide. His lifeless body was found in the prison yard near the greenhouse. Death was due to natural gas poisoning. There was a hose was found next to the body. The other end of it went to a gas pipeline, designed to heat the greenhouse. Before and after his wife's death, Martin continued to date Gypsy Willis. He repeatedly stated that he was unhappy in marriage, and was even talking about divorce. But for some reason, he didn't go through with it.
Martin and Michelle have been married for 29 years, 2 months and 10 days.
On January 26, 2010, Martin and Michelle's 24-year-old son, Damian MacNeill, also committed suicide. He was a student at the New York College of Law. Prior to his death, the Utah District Attorney's Office sent a letter to the college. The letter stated that investigators considered Damian to be a very dangerous person with a penchant for murder. He was constantly talking about the pleasure of killing, and that he was present at his parents' house on the day of his mother's death.